It's actually the most financially profitable way as well. Again, there's so many horrible lack messages out there when it comes to prosperity, so many and when we ask ourselves these questions thoughtfully, intelligently, as you say, authentically, genuinely, again, not as a way to manipulate another
Yes.
human being into doing our will. No, it's got to be authentic, right?
Hey, Bob, thank you so much for being with us on this show, Moments with Masters, this evening. Thanks for accepting my invitation and thanks for being with us. And
My
before,
pleasure.
it's an honor to be with you, Bob. Before we dive into our conversation today, I would love to introduce you to my lovely Indian audience.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, for 30 years, he has helped companies, sales leaders, and their teams to more effectively communicate their value, sell at higher prices with less resistance, and grow their businesses based on endless referrals. He has regularly addressed audiences ranging in size from 50 to 16,000, sharing the platform with notables including today's top thought leaders, broadcast personalities, Olympic athletes, and political leaders, including a former United States president. Although for years he was best known for his book Endless Referrals, it's his business parable, The Go-Giver, co-authored with John David Mann, that captured the imagination of his readers. The Go-Giver, a Wall Street Journal and BusinessWeek bestseller, has sold over 1 million copies. Since its release, it has consistently stayed in the top 25 on Porchlight's formerly 800 CEO-read Business Book Bestsellers List. The book has been translated into 30 languages. It was rated number 10 on Inc. magazine's list of the most motivational books ever written, and was on HubSpot's 20 most highly rated sales books of all time. He is the author of a number of books on sales, marketing, and influence, with total book sales approaching 2 million copies. The American Management Association named him one of the 30 most influential leaders, and he was named one of the top 200 most influential authors in the world by Richtopia. He is an advocate, supporter, and defender of the free enterprise system, believing that the amount of money one makes is directly proportional to how many people they serve. Our master today on this show, Moments with Masters, is the Bob Burg. Bob,
Wow.
thank you so much for joining us. You are the master of the day this evening with us.
Thank you. What a lovely and kind introduction. Again, I'm just very, very honored to be your guest.
Bob, the very first question: what is being a giving person?
Yeah. So when we say go giver, we simply are talking about that person who has learned, or maybe they always intuitively knew, that shifting your focus, and I think this really is where it begins, shifting your focus from getting to giving. Now, when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others. And it's understanding that doing so is not only a more fulfilling way of conducting business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And, it's not for any kind of woo-woo or way out there type of magical, mystical reasons. It actually makes very logical, very rational sense. Because when you're that person who can take your focus off yourself and place it on serving others, discovering what they need, what they want, what they desire, when you can take your focus from being on you and your needs to helping others solve and overcome their challenges and problems, when you can move them closer to happiness, right? Well, people feel very good about you. They feel great about you. They want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be in relationship with you. They want to do business with you. They um they want to be your personal walking ambassador and tell everybody about you. So that's really what being a go-giver is all about.
Going by your definition and understanding, Bob, then how does one be a go-giver and also succeed in selling his product or service?
Sure. Well, when you think about it, nobody is going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet or because you would like the sale to happen. Or even just because you're a nice person, right? People are
Mm,
going to buy
mm.
from you because they believe that it'll be beneficial for them to do so, that they'll be better off for having done so than not done so. So you think about it, you go into a sales conversation with someone, and let's say you're the prospective customer and I'm the salesperson. And I'm thinking, well, this go giver focusing on others thing, that's fine when I already have the money, but I need the sale right now. So I've got to just think about getting that money, right? So I go in and yeah, I'm going to ask you some questions because I've been taught to do that, but I'm not really listening to understand you as much as just understand how I can sort of get some good information for the close, right? Or if you have objections or concerns, I'm a little defensive about it because, again, I'm just thinking about the money. I'm not thinking about your interests. I'm thinking about myself. And it's going to come across as though there's no real empathy and no caring about you. Uh, I'm closing the sale far too often and too early before the trust and the needs have really been built. So at the end of that conversation, by focusing on myself and on the commission or on the money, are you more likely or less likely to feel comfortable doing business with me? And the answer most people would give is no, not really, because nobody wants to feel as though their salesperson is just after their money as opposed to helping them. But now let's say I'm a different salesperson. Again, let's say I still need the money, right? I'm just starting out or whatever. And so sure, of course, I'm self-interested because I'm a human being and because that's how human beings are wired. But the professional puts their self-interest to the side. They suspend their self-interest and they place their focus absolutely positively on this customer. And so now when I ask you questions, I'm doing it with a genuine caring about understanding you, understanding what you need. Okay. And you can tell, you can sense that. And even when you provide answers, I'm not going to assume that I understand exactly what you mean, because I also know it's human nature that we all see the world from our own set of beliefs. And what one person finds to be of value may not be what another person does. Right. So I'm going to make sure that I understand what you are saying. I'm going to gently and diplomatically ask you to clarify for me if I don't know. And it's only when I'm certain that I understand your needs, wants, and desires that I'm going to then connect the benefits of my product or service with what you've told me that you need. Okay. When you have an objection, rather than my being defensive about it, I'm going to welcome that objection and I'm going to help you feel good about it and assure you that it's a great question, because you need to feel very comfortable with the process if you're going to enjoy the benefits of this product or service. And so what we're going to do is, instead of just answering the asked objection, which may or may not be the real true concern, we're going to work together and go deeper and discover the actual root cause of the objection. And then once we both understand this, now we'll work together in order to advance the sale. And, by the time I'm ready to ask you to take action and buy, by this time you already, that my focus is on you and on helping you and on giving you what you need and taking care of you. I have your well-being, your best interest at heart. So now when I ask you for the sale, I'm simply asking you to take action on something that you've already told me that you want to do. mainly your level of trust is very high. So are you more likely or less likely to now want to do business with me? And the answer is probably more likely. So that's how we do it. It's nothing more, nothing less. We take our focus off of ourselves and we place that interest on the other person, understanding that that is absolutely the best way to do business.
So it's about more of alignment, which comes because you are grounded in the true human nature, and you operate from that authentic self, and
Well,
you are looking for that opportunity to connect with the true nature of the person on the other side, and to serve them, to get the result, to help them get the result that they actually want to create for themselves. Is that right? Am
well,
I understanding?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. You talk yourself. You're the expert on being an authentic influencer, and that's exactly how you do it. You influence, you move a person to action
Yes.
through an authentic self and authentically connecting with that person. And I think when a salesperson does that and they approach sales that way, now they're really in a position to create a lot of success both for their customers and for themselves.
Great. Bob, before I transition into my next question, uh, 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 what happened in your life, and what awakened you to this go-giver's mindset?
Well, I was very fortunate to be brought up by parents who modeled this kind of behavior, so I got to actually see this. But also when I got older and I got into business, I also saw people doing the opposite. And I saw people doing things in a way that I didn't think was productive, and I saw different people have different results, and some people did things in a way I didn't agree with, and they seemed to have good results, but they didn't seem to be really happy with their life, and their success wasn't necessarily sustainable. But what I saw as a pattern was that those people who conducted their business and their personal lives in a way that was genuine, that was authentic, that was kind, that always placed the interest of the customer first, not in a self-sacrificial way. And please, we're not talking about that. We're talking in a way that builds everyone in the process. I noticed those people were not only successful, but they were sustainably successful, and they also seemed very happy and have great relationships in their personal lives as well.
Bob, when you say it's not in a sacrificing way, I would like help to understand, like, uh, one of the key challenges when we intend to be a go-giver is to understand the difference between price and value. Can you
Mhm.
help us understand your perspective on the difference between price and value?
Sure. Well, price is a just a figure that is the cut. The price is the price. I mean, it's this much, right? And that's what you charge for a product or service. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to another human being that they will willingly exchange their money for this value and feel great about it, while you, the salesperson, makes a very healthy profit. And so value is both intrinsic in terms of what the product is supposed to do. For example, if someone is an accountant, okay, intrinsically their service is going to help someone save money on their taxes. It's going to save that customer time. It's going to provide that customer with the peace of mind and security of knowing it was done correctly. That's just the intrinsic value of what any accountant should be doing. That's great. And even that has to be worth more to that person than what they pay, right? But it also goes deeper. There's extrinsic value, outward value, which is all about the buying experience. And that means from the moment you meet that person, from an inbound call or an outbound call or meeting them somewhere at an event, however, or from a referral, however you met them, from the initial introduction to the follow-up and follow through, the relationship building process, the sales process, the referral process, at every single touch point, it means you help them, you make them feel good, genuinely good about themselves, about the situation, and about you. This is sure, it's through the excellence you provide, but it's also through the consistency that you provide, right? It's through the attention to detail and attention to them as a human being, not just a customer. So it's getting to know about them, about their family, about their recreation, about their causes and charities, and or whatever else is important to that person. It's also through empathy, the empathy that you show another person, that you're able to communicate, okay? And it's through the appreciation and the gratitude that you show and that emanates from you. So when you combine all this, then not only is it just the intrinsic value of the product or service, but it's everything about doing business with you that person just loves. And that's value.
Brilliant. Bob, there's something that I found interesting from the book itself, and where you say that money is not a measure of your goodness or worthiness. It's a measure of your impact. I would love to listen about that.
Yeah. So with law number one, the law of value, that is about the value you provide. And that's important. That's the foundational principle. Without that, there's really nothing else. But even when you provide wonderful, immense value, if it's to only one or two or a very limited amount of people, there's only so much income you can derive. So that accountant in our last example, they may give wonderful, fantastic, exquisite value, but if they only serve a few customers or clients, well, their income is limited. So what we say is law number two, the law of compensation, which says your income is determined by how many people you serve, as well as how you serve them. What that says is it's also it's the number of lives you impact with the immense value you provide.
And would that mean the number of lives that you touch by
Sure.
Only the number of customers, paid customers, clients do you which people have, or in every possible way they touch the lives?
Well, in this case, literally, it has to do with how many people you serve as customers or clients. But in order to serve a whole lot of people as customers and clients, you need to touch the lives of a whole lot more people than that. Yeah. Absolutely. So it's not an either or, it's a both.
Yes. Bob, there is something more that I want to ask. Why asking if something will make money isn't a bad question? It's just a bad first question.
Right. So this is from the story in the book. Again, the Go-Giver is a parable, so it was told in story form. It was co-authored by John David Mann, an absolutely magnificent writer. And so in one scene, Joe, the protege, is talking to Pindar, and he says something that Pindar kind of calls him on and says, Joe, you're approaching it kind of with a money first, instead of money being the result. And Joe says, so are you saying that asking if something will make money is a bad question? And as you said, Pindar replied, no, asking if something will make money is a great question. It's just a bad first question. Why? Because if you lead with, does it make money? Again, as we talked about earlier, no one's going to buy from you because you want the money, right? So the first question we have to ask is, does it serve? You can even say, is there a marketplace for it? Does it make people's lives better in some way? In other words, people are only going to buy something from you because they feel it will benefit them. So asking if it makes money as a first question, you're putting the cart before the horse, as we say, okay? So no, first ask, will it serve? Now, if the answer is yes, now you have to ask, will it make money? Because it could serve a whole lot of people, but if you're losing money on every sale, Well, you've got a very expensive hobby. It's not a business. So asking if it will
Oh,
make money is very important. It's just the wrong place to start. The first question has to be, does it serve? Then ask, will it make money?
yeah. Bob, one of the principles in the book is receptivity, and which
Hmm.
says that the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And
Right.
I have been one who had challenges with receiving, and I've seen hundreds
Sure.
and thousands having challenges with receiving. So how does one make oneself open to receive?
Yeah, I think, and that's such a wonderful question because I think this is another one of those aspects of human nature that it can be very difficult to allow ourselves to receive, especially because culturally, and we have this in our country. I'm sure you have it in yours, and it's pretty much in every country. There is such an anti-prosperity ethos or feeling out there in the world. People, look at people who make money as having done something wrong, right? They
Yes.
look at the people who make a lot of money as having done it dishonestly. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a big world. There's a lot of people who do things we don't agree with, okay?
Yeah.
But by and large, especially to the degree that we live in a market-based society, where when what I mean by that is no one's forced to buy from anyone else. They do business because they believe it will be in their best interest to do so. The only way you can make a lot of money is by providing value that another person wants and by touching the lives of many, many people, placing their interests first, coming at it from a true, authentic base. Now, once you do that, you've got to be able to allow yourself to receive. And what we say to help people reframe this, and so many people are glad to give but have an issue with receiving, we say it's like breathing out and
Mm.
breathing in, right? It's not one or the other, it's both. Right? You've got to breathe out, certainly, which is giving. You breathe out carbon dioxide. You've also got to breathe in oxygen in order to thrive, never mind just survive. Again, there's so many horrible lack messages out there when it comes to prosperity, so many anti-prosperity messages that if you hear this enough, whether it's upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, the internet, wherever, okay, and they are, we get it from everywhere. It can really get not only into your conscious, but into your unconscious, your subconscious. And so you have all these negative messages about money and prosperity. So now, if you're doing something where you're bringing value to people's lives, you're impacting lives very positively, and now money starts to come in, but that unconscious says, well, wait a second. If I have a lot of money, if I make a lot of money, did I do it honestly? Does this mean I'm a bad person? What are people going to think of me? Right. And so now we can almost like push it away. And again, it's always unconsciously. And
Mm.
that's the insidious part. That's the most dangerous part. We don't even know we're doing it. So,
Mm.
my suggestion is two things. One is to make a study of prosperity. Start researching, getting people's books and blogs and their video, people like Randy Gage, people like David Nagel, people like Sharon Lecter, people like Ellen Rogan, people like Ken Honda. There's so many wonderful, wonderful teachers on prosperity out there. Search them, look them up, and start listening and reading and watching because it's so important to consciously put that prosperity mindset into our brains, into our minds. And so that's the first. The second thing is to build on your small successes. Okay. So start doing things that if someone gives you a compliment, instead of saying, oh, no, well, it was not, instead say, oh, thank you very much. Or that's so
Mm.
kind of you. Right. Or
Yes.
somebody holds the door open for you instead of just saying, no, you just say, oh, thank you, very kind. If if somebody offers to pick up the check for dinner. This was always a very difficult thing for me because I always saw my dad always pick up the checks. And to me, that was just how it was supposed to be. That wasn't really anti-prosperity as much as I just wanted to imitate my dad, who, for whom I had so much respect. But I also realized that when I couldn't allow people to do that for me, that was anti-prosperity. I wasn't allowing myself to receive. So I started saying, okay, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Right. That was difficult, but I had to do it to get right. And then as you start making a little money, receive it with gratitude. When you start making a lot more money, receive it with gratitude. When you start, you know what I'm saying? And we can practice building on those small successes. And then the small successes start to become bigger successes.
Brilliant. Bob, there's one. I have two last questions which I was very much prepared to ask you, and one of them is about the principles in the book is influence. So how does a go-giver create influence? Because I'm an authentic influence coach, and I would want to listen more about that from your perspective. So how does a go-giver create influence, and both personally and in business, and how does that directly relate to new business and even to leadership?
Yeah. So again, the basic definition of influence is the ability to move a person or persons to a desired action, usually within the context of a specific goal. Now, that's the definition, but that's not really the essence of influence. The essence of influence is what John and I would call pull instead of push, right?
Yes.
Yeah. How far can you push a rope? Well, not very far, at least not very fast or very effectively, which is why great influencers don't push people. They don't push their ideas on others. They don't push their will on others. They don't push themselves on others. You never hear people saying, wow, that person is so influential. They have a lot of push with people. No, they're influential. They have a lot of pull with people. And so how does this pull manifest itself? It manifests itself through understanding what motivates or what moves the other person. What do they find to be of value? So while I believe we need to be internally motivated, we need to be outwardly focused. So the great influencer, the authentic influencer, okay, they ask themselves, how does what I'm asking this person to do, how does it align with their goals, with their needs, with their wants, with their desires? How does what I'm asking this person to do, how does it align with their values? How does it help make their life better? And when we ask ourselves these questions thoughtfully, intelligently, as you say, authentically, genuinely, again, not as a way to manipulate another human being into doing our will. No, it's got to be authentic, right? Authentic influence, but as a way of helping everyone to advance. Well, now we've come a lot closer to earning that person's commitment to the idea, as opposed to trying to get our way through some type of compliance or push or manipulation or threat or, what have you.
Yes. And in my coaching and workshops, I always say it's more about who you are than what you do and what you accomplish. And I found the same thing in your writing as well. So I'm curious to understand your understanding of it's the same thing. Like it's more about who you are than what you do and what you accomplish.
In our second book in the series, The Go-Giver Leader, Aunt L, who's the mentor, says that what you have to give, you offer least of all through what you say. Now, what you say is very important. Of course, we need to speak with people with kindness and tactfulness and in a way that, of course, what you say is important, but it's the least important. More important, of course, is what you do, but even more important is who you are. And that's where character comes into play. So you're so right on, and I think your coaching clients are very fortunate to have the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you so much, Bob. And I was inspired 25 years on this by Swami Vivekananda, who said education must be about character, because once one's character is transformed, everything else will take care of itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful.
The last thing, Bob, what's one piece of suggestion or advice would you give to those who have just launched themselves on this entrepreneurial journey, and they also have this desire to install the go-giver mindset, but they have this urgency to generate profits and money, and they find themselves ripped between profits as well as their actual desire to be an authentic influencer as an entrepreneur, what would be your suggestion or one piece of advice for them?
It's understanding that, again, the most profitable way to do business is by placing their interests first, because they're only going to buy because they believe it's in their best interest. And this was really taught to me about 40 years ago by a mentor who I call him a drive-by mentor, because I didn't really know this person very well. He simply sort of drove by, just gave me some advice that I needed to hear at that exact moment. He worked at the company where I worked at the time. He wasn't in sales. I think he was an engineer, and he retired soon after. But I was in a sales slump and was not doing very well. And I think he saw me as someone with potential. So he said to me, Bob, can I give you some advice? And I said, yes, please do. I need it. And he said, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target is serving others. Now, when you hit the target, he said, you'll get a reward. And that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, he said, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It isn't the target itself. Your target is serving others. And once I understood that, my entire sales career just launched, right? Because I realized great salesmanship is never about the salesperson, right? Great salesmanship isn't even about the product or service, as important as those are. Great salesmanship is about the person. It's about adding value to the life of another person. And really, I think we could say it's about another person's life being better just because we are part of it. And I think when we approach sales from that foundational premise, now we've created that what we call benevolent context for your success.
Very true, Bob. And it doesn't take tons of money to create value. It takes only you and your presence to create value.
Great point.
Thank you so much, Bob. It was a lovely conversation.
Thank you.
I'm sure this created tons of value already for everyone who's going to watch this. I loved this conversation. Thank you so much, Bob. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being the master on this show, Moments with Masters.
Absolutely.
Namaste from India.
Namaste, sir.